If Africa is poor, the solution is simple: send more money.
We did, over $1 trillion across 6 decades. And when we started, just 11% of Africans lived in poverty. But by the 1990s, after all that money had flowed in, that number had climbed to 66%.
That makes no sense. Money fixes problems.
Only if the system receiving it can use it. Money doesn't build foundations. It flows through whatever is already there. And if what's already there is broken, the money disappears into the cracks.
But aid rebuilt Europe after World War II.
Europe already had courts, laws, tax systems, and property rights. Aid didn't create order there. It accelerated order that already existed. And that is a completely different thing.
So Africa just needed more time.
It needed institutions. Instead, the world sent cash. And cash in a weak system doesn't become progress. It becomes power for whoever controls the flow.
Where did the money actually go?
Presidential jets, offshore accounts, luxury cars driven by government ministers at anti-poverty conferences. In Malawi, foreign aid once made up over 40% of the national budget, and huge amounts were stolen for private homes and international shopping trips, with almost no consequences.
Why no consequences? Why didn't citizens vote those leaders out?
Because the leaders didn't depend on citizens for their money. They depended on foreign donors. And when a government is funded from outside, the people have almost no power to demand change. So corruption continues, with very little resistance.
That's a broken system.
In a healthy country, governments collect taxes, and taxpayers demand services in return. That pressure is what forces leaders to be honest. But when the money comes from abroad, that pressure disappears entirely, and the relationship between a leader and their people breaks before it even begins.
But aid still builds schools and sends food, right?
Sometimes, but free food kills farmers. When donated food floods a local market, African farmers can't compete with the free food, so they stop farming, move to cities, and the local food system collapses. Free clothes from Western donations wiped out Ghana's textile industry. Between 1990 and 2010, over 80% of domestic textile factories shut down, and thousands of jobs vanished with them.
So the help was actually hurting.
There's something economists call Dutch disease. When money flows into a country, it pushes up the value of its currency. And when the currency rises, everything the country tries to sell abroad becomes too expensive for foreign buyers. Exports collapse, local industries can't grow, and the country becomes permanently dependent on the money coming in, rather than the goods going out. East Asia got rich by doing the opposite, keeping costs low, building factories, and selling to the world. But aid made that path almost impossible for much of Africa.
And the continent of Africa has so much wealth.
The Democratic Republic of Congo sits on an estimated $24 trillion worth of minerals, copper, gold, and lithium. Yet its people are among the poorest on Earth. The mines are owned by foreign companies. The raw materials are shipped out unprocessed. Finished goods are imported back in. And the money that should build hospitals and roads flows out of the country before it ever touches the ground.
So the wealth exists, but the people don't see it.
Africa loses around $30 billion every year to corruption alone. Estimates suggest that roughly 30% of all aid money received over the past 50 years was stolen, and hundreds of billions of dollars that never reached a single school, road, or child.
Then what actually makes a country rich?
Property rights, so that a farmer legally owns what he grows. Rule of law, so that contracts are kept and courts are trusted. Local businesses that create jobs and pay taxes. And governments that are afraid of their own voters, not grateful to their own donors.
So the problem was never a lack of money.
It was a lack of systems. You can donate cash. You cannot donate accountability. And without accountability, even $1 trillion disappears.
Is there any hope?
In 2026, something remarkable is happening. When major donors cut aid sharply, many African economies proved far more resilient than anyone predicted. Right now, 11 of the world's 15 fastest-growing economies are in Africa, growing without the aid that was supposed to save them decades ago.
So Africa is growing faster without the money?
It is, because the money was never the answer. The answer was always what the money was supposed to build, and Africa is finally starting to build it for itself.
Then what was $1 trillion worth?
It kept the problem alive long enough for everyone involved to feel good about it. Everyone except the people it was meant to help.